Alright guys, welcome. So I have had the pleasure of being able to experience a version 0.18 early. Thank you, Omeda, for that. That is super awesome. And we have a lot to talk about when it comes to items. As you may or may not know, we're getting over 20 new items. Some items got removed, and quite a few items got reworked. So what I want to talk about in this video is all of the new items as well as all the reworked ones. Pretty much every item got either a minor rework or a full rework. I'm only going to talk about the fully reworked ones. Even items that weren't reworked at all got some stat changes. Again, I'm not going to go over all that. I kind of want to stick on the exciting stuff, the stuff that you want to know early. And then when patch notes drops, we'll talk about all of the smaller stat changes and stuff like that. So let's jump right in. We're just going to go in order here. I'm also going to be avoiding... Actually, there might be some tier 2 items that I want to talk about. We'll go back and check those out at the end. We're going to jump into the ADC items. All crests are the same or relatively the same, minus some stats. So let's talk about the new items. So first up, we have Plasma Blade, a very interesting one to start off. 25 physical power, 40 magical power, 35 attack speed. I don't know if these stats are all 100% what's going to be on the live version, so take these stats with a grain of salt. Passive is Vibro Cutter. On basic attacking heroes, gain 8% critical strike chance for 3 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. That's 40% crit at max stacks. Very interesting item. I think this is going to be Grim. You'll probably see it on some Twin Blast. Probably not any characters like Sparrow or Revenant or anything like that, but I'm thinking definitely a must build on Grim. Probably pretty good on TB as well. Oh, I forgot to actually write this one down. Stormbreaker got reworked, actually. So it's 40 physical power, 35 attack speed. It is kind of similar to its old version, Electric Momentum. So you get this from moving around or landing basics. Generate stacks of momentum, add 100 stacks, and power your next basic attack on hit. Release a bolt of lightning that chains to 7 targets, dealing 30 plus 35% physical power as magical damage. Static, on killing enemy units, increase electric momentum's damage by 1. Camp leaders grant 2, maximum of 150 stacks. So it's kind of similar to the way you stack Omen, or like generate Omen rather, so that like you can proc the effect on Omen. It's going to be very similar. Momentum is something that we see a lot of with the new items, as well as take note of the camp leaders granting 2 stacks. So for junglers, I mean really anyone, people clear camps at various points in the game when they're not the jungler. Camp leaders now grant 2, so if you're thinking like Seraph jungle, she can stack this really quickly. It's more or less the same item. The only thing that's interesting about this item to me is the fact that you can guarantee have this up for the start of a fight. So if you're coming in from the jungle, you're guaranteeing that first shot on whoever you hit, they're taking that Stormbreaker proc. Very interesting. I think this makes this item a bit more fun to play around with, let's say. I did say I was going to talk about the new items. I guess I'm just going to go in order now at this point because I've already goofed this. Equinox, brand new item, 20 physical power, 35 attack speed, 20% crit chance, critically striking, deals 6% bonus damage. And it's hard to tell, but it is highlighted white, which means that's as true damage. So we have a true damage crit item, very interesting. And on going below 40% HP, you gain a 200 to 400 HP shield for 4 seconds. That shield gets increased with player level. Interesting, like team fight kind of sustain item, as well as providing true damage. Very interesting. I think it's pretty strong. The power is, when you look at compared to other items, kind of on the low end at 20, but it is pretty strong. True damage is always a little scary. Nothing really to talk about with any of these items until we get to Kingsbane, which is 35 physical power, 25 attack speed, 15 ability haste. Regicide, on successful basic attack, deal 15 damage on hit. Increases by 5% of your attack speed on subsequent hits per target. Resets after not damaging the target for 2.5 seconds. So I guess this is this infinite? There's no cap. Yeah, there's no cap on this. I mean, hypothetically, it's infinite. That's something I want to go and like test on the steel. Just only build this and see how fast it ramps up. Interesting item. I honestly not sure how great the numbers are going to be. Could be pretty good. Interesting on-hit item. Moving on, we have what I think is going to be a menace of an item, especially on Twin Blast. Nuclear rounds, 40 physical power, 25 attack speed, 250 mana, 20% crit chance. That mana is relevant, trust me. Havoc, its only passive. Based on critical strike chance, increase ability damage by 4 to 20%. So this is at 100% crit chance, I believe. That means you have 20% more ability damage. Twin Blast, loving this. Right now, it really seems like Twin Blast can be building ability damage and on hit all at the same time, like auto attack focused, whereas currently on the live version, you're pretty much either going on hit for anti-tank or you're going that ability based build with like the Infernum and all that stuff. I think TB is going to be scary this patch, so just watch out. And last one here, Resolution. Not like a total rework, but a little bit of one worth noting. 30 physical power, 20% attack speed, 6 physical pen, 200 mana. Darksteel, on successful basic attack, deal 2.5% of your mana as damage on hit. Is that not maximum mana? But deal 2.5% of your mana as damage on hit, physical damage. And then Potent Font, which you may recognize as the Mind Razor passive. Gain 5 max mana, Camp Leaders grant 10, stacks up to 400. At 400, gain 2.5 of your mana as physical power. Very scary on TB. Resolution is now kind of a real item because you're getting the mana on the item itself, which is great. Now, moving on to Mage items, we have quite a lot to talk about here. A few new items and a lot of reworks. Jumping in hot with Caustica, 70 magical power, 75% base mana regen. Magus, its old passive, it is a bit weaker now. Ignore 35% of magical armor. All pen went down with this patch. It's something we'll talk about more on patch notes. And then the new passive, Arcane Might, on dealing ability damage to hero. While they are above 50% HP, for every point of bonus magical armor they possess, deal 0.35% more damage. So, if people are building a ton of MR, you're just getting to do more damage. Interesting. I think it's going to be really strong. It's going to be a great anti-tank option. Obviously, it is your only percent pen option on mages. Now, the only difference is while it is still somewhat of a mana sustain item, it is not nearly as potent as it used to be. So keep in mind when you're going to do builds that Caustica won't be providing you the mana it used to. Next up, we have Astral Catalyst, an interesting item, something that I talked about for a while wanting, which was an anti-shield magical item. So 80 magical power, 250 mana, 15 ability haste. On takedown, reduce ultimate cooldown by 20%, which was the original passive. And now it has Event Horizon. On damaging a shielded target, deal 30% bonus damage, does not exceed the size of the shield. I think this is a really great item. I think it's better than the physical version, which is Demon Edge. I think you'll be seeing Astral Catalyst built quite a lot, honestly. Up next, we have Azure Core. A little bit of a change on Azure Core. Maybe now we're rushing this. I think this item's really strong, and I think we're actually going to be finishing the item now. So now, it has 65 magical power, 350 mana, 15 ability haste, and as a new passive, Spirit Shield on a 90-second cooldown. When going below 40% HP, gain a 25% of your mana shield for 5 seconds. And then Font, on killing any unit, gain 5 max mana, Camp Leaders grade 10, stacks up to 400. At 400, gain 4% of your mana as magical power. I believe that is max mana. So now we have this an additional passive, which, what is the small version called? I can't think of the name of it right now. I have to pull it up. Alchemical Rod does not have, so now we have a reason to actually go and finish the item, which is very interesting. I think this is going to be strong. We'll see. Lifebinder, I'm not a big fan of this change, but it is a rework. 80 magical power, 300 mana, 15% magical lifesteal. For every 10% missing health, gain 3 magical power and 1% magical lifesteal. No longer this like kind of bruisery item with ability haste. Now it's very much so just like a raw lifesteal item. First new magical item, Soul Binder, 75 magical power, 400 mana, 15 ability haste, Arcane Salvo on a 12-second cooldown, damage heroes from afar. This is an interesting one. You deal 8% bonus damage, and you permanently gain 1 magical power when you hit enemies at 1.5k units range or further. I believe from what I was told, Bellica's abilities at max range do proc this. So I unfortunately off the top of my head can't tell you the exact range, but it is within Bellica's range, apparently. Spirit of Amir got a interesting rework, still keeping the core idea of the item, but we'll talk about this. 75 magical power, 8 magical flat pen, and 10 ability haste. No lifesteal on the base item. Natural selection, gain effects based on your location. In the jungle, gain 8% magical lifesteal. Outside of the jungle, gain 8 magical power. Monster Slayer, abilities deal 8 more damage to monsters. So what we're going to be seeing is a lot of Spirit of Amir, Shinbi, and Countess in jungle. When you're playing these magical junglers, also Aurora, who, if you didn't know, spoiler, was confirmed. So this just seems to be now the magical starter jungler item, which is interesting. Then we have what I think is my favorite new item, Noxia, 85 magical power, 20 ability haste, Evil Eye, mark heroes for 3 seconds upon dealing ability damage. With a separate ability, deal damage to a marked enemy hero to activate Dark Matter. Dark Matter, the second passive, on an 8-second cooldown. Deal 5% of the target's maximum HP as bonus magical damage. To clarify, that is mitigatable, so you won't actually hit someone for 5% of their max HP. That's just how much damage you're going to hit for, and then you take away the protections. Very cool item. It's very similar to an ability that the Morrigan has from Smite. More reworks coming at you. Magnify, 60 magical power, 300 health, 10 ability haste, and 8% Omnivamp. This is an interesting one. Arcana, while moving or casting abilities. So this is like the Stormbreaker. Generate stacks of focus. Add 100 stacks and power your next basic attack. Deal 50 plus 25% of your magical power as magical damage. Shred 15% of the target's magical armor for 4 seconds. So if you're running any double mage comps, this is very good. I think this would be a strong item on Shinbi, possibly Countess as well. Overall, I think it's a kind of cool item. It's nice that we have this magical shred item back. Something that I also talked about, like, why do we take away our magical shred item? I think this is like a decent identity for Magnify now. So that's all of the mage items out of the way. Now let's jump into support items. I don't admittedly know a whole lot about how good support items are, but we're going to talk about it. We have Dawnstar, 250 health, 75% base health regen, 20 physical armor, and 10 ability haste. Debilitating strikes on basic attacking heroes. Reduce their damage dealt by 2% for 3 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Melee basic attacks apply 2 stacks. So I'm thinking like maybe like Grux support, weirdly. This could be good for like Xeris support, Steel support perhaps. And then Crusader on immobilizing heroes gain 20% attack speed for 2.5 seconds. It's a very interesting item. I want to say it's strong, but it might be a bit awkward to kind of use. We'll see. Dynamo gets a slight, but also very interesting rework. Plus 275 HP, 20 physical armor, 10 ability haste, immobilizer. On immobilizing an enemy, they take 8% more damage for 2.5 seconds. That's a 2% reduction on what it is currently. But we get a new passive, adaptive aggression. Gain 20 physical power. When your magical power is higher than your bonus physical power, it gains 35 magical power instead. So when we're playing characters like Bellica or Decker, instead of getting physical power, we'll get magical power. I think this is very interesting, and I actually love this change for this item, where when I want, it's a good item for Bellica and Decker, but when I want to play aggressively, it would be nice to have some additional power. So I think having that augmented into the item is going to feel really, really good. Let me pull up my list because I'm actually forgetting what support items got reworked. Ah, there's only one other support reworked. All right, Everbloom. This item seems giga broken, possibly the best new item in the game. 45 magical power, 200 health, 8% heal and shield power. Divine protection. On healing or shielding a hero, grant them 5% damage mitigation and 15% tenacity for 2 seconds. Tenacity is something that's kind of hard for ADCs to get. This is a big deal. 5% damage mitigation isn't a lot, but it's also nothing to scoff at. I think this is a very strong item, especially when you get into like team fights and you're providing this to another tank, or you're providing this to, like, I'm just thinking about like providing this to a Chimera or a Crunch or something. That could be mucho scary. Hexbound Bracers, another interesting support item. I think we've had some fun with support items here, and I'm totally down for it. 35 physical armor, 100% base health regen, 15 ability haste. Mana reactor, restore mana equal to 30% of damage taken, which is it double what it is currently on live? That's insane. And Hex Guard, take 4 +1 per level less damage from hero basic attacks. I'm thinking this is a must buy on Richter first item support. This item seems pretty strong, maybe not so strong in the late game, but as a first buy, this item seems pretty good. Lunaria is up next, a new item. 55 magical power, 10 ability haste, 8% heal and shield power. We're really getting in on the healing and shielding in this patch. We did lose some items though. I know we lost Wellspring. Incandescence. On dealing damage to heroes, gain charges equal to 30% of damage dealt. Charge limit 100 going up to 360 based on hero level. Mending. On healing or shielding an ally hero, consume all incandescence charges. Heal them for the amount. Prioritize as lowest health target. I couldn't tell you if this item's good. There's a lot of numbers. I don't know what they're all doing. It might be good. I honestly think this is a worse Wellspring. We'll see. Another new item, Cresselia. I think I said that right, like the Pokemon? 45 magical power, 100% base mana regen, 15 ability haste, Moonblade on a 1.5 second cooldown. On ability cast, empower your next basic attack within 4 seconds. Deal 20% of your magical power plus 80% of your physical power as magical damage on hit. Reduce non-ultimate cooldowns by 15%. So it's a spell slasher item for supports, which is very interesting. Shinbi could get some use out of this in offlane, I'm thinking. Get your shield up more often, your dash up more often. Shinbi struggles with mana. This, I think, is a really weird niche item. And that's all for supports. On to tanks. Tanks have 2 reworks. I will note Stonewall lost its stun passive. So on to Fire Blossom. So Fire Blossom, our first rework here. 350 HP, 35 physical armor. For laners, it is worth noting that you have lost your mana on this item. So you have Heat Wave, burn nearby enemies, deals 15 plus 1% of your max HP as magical damage each second. This lost some scaling, but I believe you get more base HP now across the board. I could be wrong on that. So interesting second passive here. Instead of doing more damage to jungle monsters and immobilized targets, now you have Firestorm. When Heatwave damages a target, deal 6.25% more damage each second up to 50%. Resets after not damaging the target for 2.5 seconds. So this is very interesting and something that's actually really beneficial to characters like Greystone and Sevarog. Sevarog, you're not always going to have... Like, Sevarog has some long cooldowns, only 1 CC, ignoring his ultimate. So a lot of the time you're getting Fire Blossom value, it's not on people who are immobilized. As well as Greystone, you don't have a way to immobilize targets, so you could never get the full value of Fire Blossom, and now you can. Greystone has pretty decent, like, semi-stickability. It's kind of hard to stick right on someone, but like within Fire Blossom range is actually pretty easy. So I think this is actually stronger. Again, it sucks for laners that you lose the mana, but interesting passive nonetheless. The other rework we have, do we really only have 1 new tank item? Yeah, we do. So the other rework we have is Raiment of Renewal. 550 HP, so still a big HP stat stake, 50% base health regen, 10 ability haste. Regenerator, while out of combat, regenerate 2.5% of your missing health each second. So instead of regenning some of damage taken, you're just regenning health, which I think is gonna be very significant for junglers. As well as Synthesis for each level gain 5% additional base health regen. So I think this is gonna be a monster of a health regen item. Very notable for junglers, I think. I think this is gonna be very interesting on Rampage. We'll see how it shakes up. Especially with like HP scaling items like Overlord and Elefrost. This could be a bit of a menace. Our only new tank item, Fist of Rizul. 450 HP, 25 physical armor, 10 ability haste. For the next 3 seconds, generate a stack each second. Upon reaching 5 stacks, empower your next basic attack. Deals 3% of your max HP as bonus magical damage increased by 2 times on heroes. Heal for 50% of the bonus damage dealt. Second passive is Minion Crusher, deal 30% increased damage to minions. That passive makes me think that they intend this to be a first build item. It's a very interesting item. A steal item, perhaps. Richter, maybe. I don't exactly entirely know how to feel about this item, and I don't know how to properly gauge it. It's interesting. It's very interesting. Could be fun. I'm curious to see how it shakes up. Bruiser items. We have no reworked Bruiser items. What we do have is the removal of Phoenix for the Crest Judgment. 12 physical power, 100 health, 4% Omnivamp. Active Thundercleaver, 20-second cooldown, going down to a 10-second cooldown at max player level. Deal 120% of your physical power as physical damage in an area around you. On hero hit, heal 35% of your physical power, plus 8% of your max health. Subsequent hero hits, heal for 50% effectiveness. This is again at max level on a 10-second cooldown. I think this crest is probably giga busted, but maybe I'm super overvaluing it. But this is something you have every fight, sometimes multiple times a fight. The ability to like engage, pop it, disengage, and come back in the fight like another angle or something, and then pop it again. I think this item could be a bit of a menace. I did play the new mode, and I used this crest. It felt okay, but I feel like I was so focused on other things. So here we have an interesting item. If you're a Smite player, if you're a Mercury fan, you'll be excited for these. 350 health, 30 physical armor, 15 ability haste, 20% tenacity. Tremor, move to generate up to 100 stacks. Stacks grant up to 70 movement speed. Basic attacks expend all stacks for bonus damage. Deals up to 50 plus 120% of your physical power as physical damage. Lose 50 stacks per second while slowed or immobilized, and then unburden, increase your jump height by 75%. I don't currently have a basis for how high 75% is. This is something I probably should have tested before I recorded this. I apologize. Very interesting item. 20% tenacity, 350 health. It's a good tenacity item. You have some ability haste here. Probably something you'll be seeing on like Rampages, Greystones, maybe even Chimeras, Crunches even. All those like junglers and offlaners, Gruxes that, you know, against high CC comps need some tenacity. Alright, it's a long video already. Earthshaker. 30 physical power, 30% attack speed, 300 health, Battleborn on dealing damage to enemy heroes or monsters. Increase your ability damage dealt by 1% for 3 seconds, stacks up to 15 times. Melee hero stacks twice as fast. This is an interesting item. Again, we're talking Grux, Crunch, Grux and Chimera. Beyond that, I'm not entirely sure. Oh, Bruiser, Seraph, this would probably be really good for. I don't know that I love it. I think attack speed on Chimera is kind of hit or miss. It's interesting. It could be really, really strong as like a second item option, but then we're like skipping Basilisk, Berserker's Axe, Elefrost. Again, but 6 items too. You could work it in. I think it'll be an interesting item. We'll see how it goes. Mist Meadow Buckler. This is the Tectonic Mallet replacement. 40 physical power, 30 magical armor, 5% Omnivamp. Mistwood Guard. Gain 100 charges, regenerate 5 charges each second. While at 100 charges, gain 15 magical armor. Bark Skin. On taking magical damage, consume Mistwood Guard charges. Block 1 damage for each charge consumed. Can block up to 50% of the damage received. To me, this item sounds really bad, but maybe in practice it's insanely good. The Omnivamp is super worth noting. I think I prefer Tectonic Mallet, but the Omnivamp could be a real menace for Grux. We'll see how she goes. I don't see anyone building it outside of Grux, honestly. I suppose Crunch, possibly. Yeah, there was no reworks, so that's everything here. All right, we're done with Bruisers. Onto Assassins. We have 2 reworks here. One a lot spicier than the other. First up, we have a new item. Tainted Trident. It's an anti-heal item. 40 physical power. 8 physical flat pen. 10 ability haste. Blighted strikes on dealing physical damage. Reduce the target's healing by 40% for 3 seconds. On dealing ability damage to a blighted unit, deal 4 plus 15% physical pen as additional damage. So interesting. It's nice that we have a tainted option for assassins. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's very good. Maybe I'm underestimating it. It is nice for assassins not have to build tainted blade anymore. Great for Kalari, great for Feng Mao. Next up, we have Mind Racer, which got reworked to an extent. 45 physical power, 300 mana, 20 ability haste, Razor Cleave. On dealing basic attack or ability damage, deal plus 30% of your physical power around the target. Damage decreases from 100% to 50% based on the distance. Restriction, dot abilities cannot activate this effect. I guess I shouldn't have included this, because it's not a rework at all. We just removed Potent Font. I'm pretty sure this item is hot dog shit. I don't know who's building this item. I don't think I'm building it on anybody. I'm gonna be real with you. So I guess we only have 1 rework. My apologies. We do have an interesting item here. A very hefty stat stick. Penumbra? Maybe? 40 physical power, 200 in health. 6 physical flat pen, 20 ability haste. Essence Reaper. On takedown, reduce non-ultimate cooldowns by 4 seconds. It's very interesting for Feng Mao, very interesting for Kalari. I mean, those are the only 2 I think it's interesting on right now. It's a big stat stick. I suppose, like, maybe weirdly Chimera? I don't know. And then the last item we want to talk about, Envy. So, plus 40 physical power, plus 8% physical pen, 250 mana, Sacrificial Strike. On dashing, leaping, or exiting camo, your next basic attack within 3 seconds will critically strike. This was already an existing passive. The new passive, Hush, on a 45-second cooldown. On using Sacrificial Strikes on a hero, silence them for 1.25 seconds. Did you want your Kalari or Feng Mao to be able to silence? Now they can. Xeris as well. Very interesting item that I think I will be playing quite a bit. Now, I did mention that there was possibly some tier 2 items I wanted to talk about. I think there's really only one, right? There was, right? There was one. Was there not? Ah, yes. Okay, I found it. Rapid Rapier is now a tier 2 item that has a passive that did not before. 20 physical power, momentum, while moving or landing basic attacks generate stacks of momentum. Add 100 stacks, empower your next basic attack on hit, deal 30 damage. That is pretty much all for the new items that I want to talk about. There's a lot going on. So I did want to slide this in at the end of the video because I feel like it's worth bringing up. There was 9 total removed items. Phoenix, the crest, which we did already mention. There are 2 tier 2 items, a Bristle Bracers, which built into Golem's Gift. Golem's Gift still is in the game, however. And Hallowed Braid, which built into Requiem. There were now 6 tier 3 items that were also removed. 2 in the carry role, which were Breach and Viper. It's kind of a shame to see both of these items go, actually. So now you can't stack Corrode with like your ADC and jungler or ADC offlaner. And Breach was just like a fun, silly item. It was an item that I expected seeing, and actually, I think if you watch patch notes that I did when the item came out, I mentioned that I don't foresee it lasting long. Then for fighters or bruisers, we lost 2 items, Bone Seeker and Tectonic Mallet. It is unfortunate to see Tectonic Mallet go. It was a very fun item. Bone Seeker, I won the war on this one. I hated that item. I thought that item was a total meme, and for that reason, it's gone. Then we lost 2 support items. Requiem. The item fell into a really weird spot where when it was good, it was abusable by other roles, and when it was bad, it was just kind of virtually unusable. A lot of the time when you were building into it, you just sat on Hallowed Braid the entire game. And then Wellspring, I actually don't fully see the need to remove it, other than them wanting to change it to this new version, which we talked about earlier on in the video. That's all the removed items. I guess future me is done. For watching, there should be 2 videos on screen now. I hope you're hyped about version 0.18. I know I am. That's all for me. Bears out. Peace.